Hello. Today I want to do some stuff like this. Uh, yeah. Today I want to do some C++. I'm gonna read a reader. Uh, fuck. And um, think Taylor Academy. What's that, by the way? Let's check the one that I want. Uh, 1.7. One stick L. Reader. No. Yeah, this is the one that I want to read. I want to read it a little bit, step by step. So I have already gone through this. Wall of abstractions. Abstractions are imprecise. Uh, yeah. Refining abstractions. In the previous chapter, we explored the class concept and saw how to use classes to model an interface paired with an implementation. You learned how to realize the previous chapter. Hmm. Refining abstractions, software, radio, under the Leetcode code for far larger than ever. The most a single incorrect value in a software system can cause the entire system to fail. I get that. Abstractions describe many possible implementations, and encapsulation prevents clients from picking at that implementation. The way in which a client interacts with an object, called objects interface. Abstraction reduces the number of components in a software system and reducing the maximum complexity of that system. C++ structs uh, like because their implementation is their interface. Now, I don't really get what this means. C++ concept is the realization of an interface paired with an implementation. The member of a class that are listed public form that class's interface. So public is a class's interface and they're accessible to anyone. The member of a class that are listed private are part of the class implementation. So private is implementation and can only be viewed by member functions of that class. Constructors allow implementers to enforce invariants from the moment the class is created. Private member functions allow implementations to decompose code without revealing the implementation to clients. Class implementations are traditionally partitioned into .h file containing the class definition and a CPP file, class implementation. Sure. Design class interfaces to avoid over specializing the interface before implementation. We talked about how interfaces and modularity can exponentially reduce the maximum complexity of a system. Can you think of any examples from the real world where introducing indirection makes a complex system more manageable? Actually, this is a pretty good question. And what is the motivation behind functions along the lines of get frequency and set frequency over just having a public frequency data member? It's so that, you know, getters and setters, right? Um, what is a constructor invoked? When is constructor invoked? All right, this page is 134, and this is 234. 34. Are imprecise. Abstractions are imprecise. Earlier in this chapter, we discussed abstraction in the context of a coffee mug by exploring descriptions of a coffee mug, various levels of abstraction. Suppose we have an actual coffee mug we are interested in designing abstraction for. Alright, just fucking display, stapler, pencil. Everything interacts with everything else. I guess this would be the good old struct implementation, and paper, stapler, and pencil. Paper interacts with pencil. Pencil interacts with sharpener. And second, in practice, interactions between two or more objects can usually be simplified down to multiple instances of interactions between pairs of objects. For example, if three billiard balls all collide, we could consider the interaction between the three balls as three separate interactions of pairs of balls. Only in unusual circumstances is such a decomposition not possible. Finally, considering interactions only of pairs. All right, you know what? I'm gonna read all of this stuff alone. This is not a good place to be. This is not a. No, I don't want to just read books here online. I want to solve some problems and read very short stuff. So let me just go to like C++ interview questions. And there's also a CPP quiz website, which is really interesting. Interview questions and answers. Define STD. C++, the must known and all-time favorite programming language of coders. It's still relevant. General purpose, object-oriented, extensively deployed. What? Get out. Microsoft and Meta because of its adoption. So many. What are references in C++? Let's start from the beginning. Data types C++ or considered as objects is a multi-paradigm language. It simply counts memory management is a key feature in C++. Dynamic memory allocation. It is a mid-level, which means you can develop games, desktop applications, drivers, and kernels. What are different data types present in C++? So following is a list of data types. Derived function, array, pointers, reference, user defined. So we know primary, integer, character, boolean, floating point, double floating point, void, white character. What's white character? I know, but function is function data type. Type data type. What is function's data type? Function or object? Types in C++. Let me get into this. And basic data types, derived data types from basic types, pointer reference function, custom data types created by program recording, char, boolean, output, void data type represents the absolute absence of value. We cannot create a variable of void type. It is used for pointer and functions that do not return any value using the keyword void. Type safety in C++ is a strongly typed language, which means that for all variables, data type should be specified at the declaration and does not change throughout the program. Moreover, bool data type conversion refers to the process of changing one data type into another compatible without losing meaning. It's an important concept for handling different types. Size of data type. That was it. Derived data types. Functions is a block of code or program segment that is defined to perform a specific well-defined task. It is generally refined to save the user from writing the same lines of code again and again. Alright, this is a rabbit hole. Rabbit hole certainly detected. STD is also known as standard, or it can be interpreted as a namespace. The command using namespace std informs the compiler to add everything under the std namespace and inculcate them in this global namespace. This all in calculation of global namespace benefits us to use cout and scene without using std and operator. What are references in C++? GFG reference variable. Create an alias for another variable. A reference acts as a synonym for a variable, allowing you to access the variable directly without an additional syntax. Reference variable. Large objects. A reference variable is preceded with a symbol. GFG10 int pointer get the address of ref. The way I was taught this is that the ampersand means get the address of. It means get the address of ref. And yeah, what do you mean by call by value and call by reference. Call by value, call by reference. Copy of a variable is passed. The variable itself is passed fundamentally. Calling a function by sending the address of the passed variable. Calling a function sends. Okay. Define token in C++ is the smallest individual element of program censored by compiler. Constant specimens. Okay. I think I understand all of this stuff. This is getting boring. What is the output of this program? Struct printer. All right, we're back. According to the C++ standard 23 standard, what is the output of this program? Wait a minute. Struct pointer printer that does cout. Is this a constructor? This is crazy. Whoa. This is crazy. It doesn't have arrows? No. Alright, I'll just get another editor. Document desktop 1.cpp. Is it dot? Yes, it was. I think it should be CPP. Oh my god. What's going on? Fuck this. Creating a new one. Trust the seek and I find in you every day for the something new. What is this? Include IO stream. Struct. So can struct have a constructor? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157 158 159 An instructor or constructor in C++. Only difference between a class and instructor is the members and base classes are private by default in classes. Whereas I've been trying to solve this problem, but I'm not getting the syntax. Can a struct have a constructor in the C++? The only difference between a class and a struct is that members and base classes are private by default in classes, whereas they are public by default in structs. What? Class and struct, members and the base class. What's a base class? What is a base class? Is an existing class from which other classes are derived. Okay. But I don't get this. By default in classes, whereas they are public by default in structs. Okay, so this creates a new struct printer, and so they create this template, type name T, so this gets a T, and cout I, static inline printer. Oh my god, what is this? What is this? See, so this is like a constructor. Like 2 will be printed probably, and then static inline printer. This declares a new printer here. Inline printer. It has a member printer in this. You know what? Just static inline C++. Should one never use static inline function? The keyword static and inline can be combined to modify the behavior of functions. The variables. Static, when applied to function or variable, function static limits its visibility to the current translation unit source file, and this means this function or variable cannot be accessed from other source files in the project. Whoa, so this is a variable, right? This is a printer struct variable. So this will not be seen from other C++ files, I guess. Inline, what's inline? Inline keyword suggests to the compiler that it should replace calls to the function within the function's actual code at the call site. This can eliminate the overhead of a function call. Combined, when used together, combines the scope and linkage limitations of static with the inlining suggestions of inline. Inlining suggestions of inline. Header files, it's common to use static file inline for functions defined in header files. This allows the function to be inline multiple source code, no external linkage, so that inline function has internal linkage, making it invisible to the linker in other translation unit. This avoids potential conflicts in the same function is defined in different translation units. Compiler optimization, static inline functions are not inlined. All right, what's inlining a function? I don't get this. The left keyword suggests to the compiler that it should replace calls to the function with the function's actual code at that call site. I don't get inline variable. Proposed inline variables was voted into C++. STD. Inline specifier can be applied to variables as well as to functions. A variable declared inline has the same semantics as a function declared inline. It can be defined identically in multiple translation units, must be defined in every translation unit in which it is ODR used, and the behavior. What? I don't get any of that. Don't get any of that. Struct A, static context. Redundant declaration definition of in C++ concept. What the hell is going on? Printer I. What's I? It's gonna, I think it's just gonna print 2 and I think that's what it will do, basically. Right, desktop G++ 1.cc. It didn't do anything. It did not do anything. Wow. We need STD here. Hey, 2. Oh, it just printed 2. Why? Hmm. 2. Answer correct. Static members of class templates like the printer are only instantiated if they are used. Only instantiated if they are used in a way that requires them to be defined. C printer is not used at all in this program, so it is never initialized. So static members of a class templates like C printer. This is a class template. Unless a member of a template class is declared specialization, the specialization of the member is, wow. This is just, this is a lot to handle. This is not cool at all. Not cool at all. You know, what I was interested in more was not this, but not this, but you know, it would be so cool if I just had like this book physically, because reading all this text on a laptop kind of boring. It's very boring. No one has turned us so many game. Operator overloading. Let me check out my stream. Yeah, nobody watching it. That's good. That is just fine. But it's just amazing. Right, let's just go back to fucking Leetcode because I'm getting bored. I am getting bored. Practice roadmap. So graphs, we can do graphs, we can do 1DDP, we can do bit manipulation, sum of two integers, reverse integer, sum of two ints, reverse int. How do you reverse an integer? You know what? This stream just sucks because that's Linux journey. Linux journey, home shell, command line, textful, processes, file system, boot the system, kernel, devices, kernel, and user space, the journal. Let me actually check out this dev directory. When you connect a device to your machine, it generally needs a device driver to function properly. You can interact with device drivers through device files or device nodes. These are special files that look like regular files. Since these device files are just like regular files, you can use programs such as ls, cat, etc to interact with them. These device files are generally stored in the dev directory. So go ahead and ls the dev directory on your system. You'll see a large amount of device files that are on your system. Some of these devices you have already used and interacted with, such as dev null. Remember, when we send output to dev null, the kernel knows that this device takes. When we send output to dev null, the kernel knows that this device takes all of our input and just discards it, so nothing gets returned. Let me do that. ls dot slash dev. Whoa, so many stuff going on. TTI block, TTY block, KVM net, TTY, user IO, use urandom. What the hell? Disk, DRI, console, cuts. Can I cut this out? Permission denied, sudo. It's nothing. TTY. Device. All right, I have one question. I have a Bluetooth mouse connected to my Linux. Now there is a file dev, like, what is this called? Device files are, uh, does my Bluetooth device have a device file on Linux? No, Bluetooth device don't even have a traditional device in like disks or serial ports. Instead, Bluetooth controllers may appear as dev-tty if they are serial based, but most modern ones are managed by a Bluetooth stack. The BlueZ stack manages Bluetooth devices via. Is it a Bluetooth or no? It's no, I don't know if it is Bluetooth, but I got it. It's a wireless device, but you're not unsure if it's Bluetooth. You might be Wi-Fi, appears VLAN, proprietary wireless. If it's a USB dongle, try L sub C. L sub C. What does this do? Root. Genesis logic. This is where I am. Bus device. Linux Foundation root L sub. Genesis logic on site. Linux Foundation root. Logitech. Logi. Bolt receiver root shine LSAB for all input devices and to see which device corresponds to what EV test. Permission denied. It's nothing. Oh, cat. Hell. ls.la. Right, my mind is fried. Sorry, I have to stop this. I have to stop this.